It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. I recognized the number immediately, Sarah, my wife. But the tone of her voice on the other end was unlike anything I had ever heard. Panic-stricken, breathless, almost trembling. "Mark, you need to get home right now," she gasped. "Something's happened. I don't know what to do." Her words were clipped, frantic, each syllable laced with terror. I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. "Sarah, calm down. Slow down. Tell me exactly what's going on," I urged, my mind already racing through possibilities. She couldn't. She just repeated, "Please, just come home. Hurry." I dropped everything and raced out of the office, heart pounding, adrenaline surging through every vein. Traffic felt heavier than usual, each red light a cruel tease. By the time I reached our street, flashing lights were already visible, red and blue reflections bouncing off our house and the surrounding buildings. My chest tightened. Police cars. And I had no idea why. Pulling up to the curb, I saw 3 uniformed officers standing outside, speaking in low, serious tones. Sarah was at the door, pale, her hands shaking, her eyes wide with fear. "Mark," she whispered, almost pleading. I rushed to her side. "What happened? Tell me now." But before she could respond, one of the officers stepped forward, asking for my identification. My mind spun. What could have happened in the span of 30 minutes to turn our normal life into this nightmare? Inside the house, chaos unfolded. Furniture slightly displaced, lights on in rooms we never touched during the day, a broken vase on the floor. The officers exchanged glances, their expressions grave but controlled. Sarah's voice cracked as she explained, I don't know how to say this. I came home from work, and there was a man in the house. He said he was sent by someone, and then I called 911, and before I knew it," her words trailed off into sobs. I tried to piece it together. Burglaries in our neighborhood were rare. Why would someone target our home specifically? And why now, when Sarah was alone for just a few minutes? The officers began asking questions, and I answered as best I could, though my mind was racing ahead of every word. My protective instincts flared. I needed to secure our home, protect Sarah, understand who had violated our sanctuary, and why. As the investigation began, details started trickling in. Something about a dispute, a neighbor reporting suspicious activity, but nothing concrete yet. My heart ached seeing Sarah like this, terrified and shaken, and yet I knew I couldn't let fear take over. I had to stay calm, strategic, and ready for whatever truth was about to emerge. The officers guided me through the house, room by room, trying to assess the situation. Every corner, every shadow, seemed magnified in my mind. The living room, usually a place of comfort, now looked foreign, cushions tossed, curtains slightly askew, a faint scuff mark on the hardwood floor. My pulse raced. Whoever had entered our home had been methodical, precise, and bold. Sarah stayed close, clutching my arm, her grip trembling. "Mark, I don't understand how this happened." I locked the doors. Her voice cracked, and I put a hand over hers, trying to convey calm that neither of us truly felt. "It's going to be okay," I whispered. "We'll figure this out. You're safe now." I wished I could believe it fully. One of the officers, a tall man with a sharp gaze, approached me. "We've taken statements from neighbors," he said. "Someone saw a suspicious vehicle parked across the street about an hour ago. We're tracking the plates. We also found evidence of forced entry through the back window." My stomach sank. Not just a scare, it had been an actual break-in. And the thought that someone had been inside while Sarah was home alone made my blood run cold. As the officers continued their questioning, a detective arrived. She introduced herself as Detective Harper, calm but authoritative. "Mr. Thompson, we're going to need a detailed account of everyone who had access to this house, recent conflicts, anything unusual. Sometimes, these incidents aren't random." I nodded, giving her every detail I could think of, trying to remain composed while my mind raced. Who could have done this? And why? Sarah's face was pale, and I noticed her hands trembling even more. I pulled her into the living room, letting her sit while I spoke quietly. "We don't know what's happening yet, but we'll find out. I promise. You're not alone." Her eyes met mine, filled with fear and a hint of guilt, as if she blamed herself for not preventing the intrusion. "I called as soon as I realized," she said softly. "I didn't want anyone hurt." I squeezed her hand, forcing a reassuring smile. Hours passed. Police cars remained outside, lights flashing intermittently, officers coming in and out. Neighbors whispered, curiosity mixing with concern. Each update from Detective Harper brought fragments of the puzzle together. Someone had been targeting our street, a possible dispute linked to a misunderstanding from earlier that week, a figure seen fleeing the scene. The story was still incomplete, but clarity was forming piece by piece. By the time night fell, Sarah and I were exhausted but determined. Fear had shaken us, but it had also ignited a protective resolve. We realized we could no longer take our safety for granted, and that trust, our home, our sanctuary, was fragile in ways we had never imagined. But one thing was clear: we would face the aftermath together, and I would not let anyone harm her, or our life, without consequences. The next morning brought more answers, though none were easy to digest. Detective Harper called me with an update. The suspicious vehicle had been traced to a man with a criminal record, known for targeting affluent homes for theft and intimidation. But what puzzled them, and terrified me, was the note found inside our mailbox, a short, typed message warning me to stay away from certain financial dealings or face consequences. My stomach churned. This was no random break-in. Someone was sending a message, and it had been directed at me. Sarah and I spent hours together, reviewing everything that had happened, trying to connect dots and make sense of the threat. I realized quickly that panic alone wouldn't protect us. Every detail mattered: the way the back door was forced, the suspicious car, the note. I needed to understand motive, method, and the person behind it. It wasn't just about property anymore. It was about safety, control, and survival. I contacted a trusted security consultant, someone I had met through work, to help reinforce our home. Cameras, locks, motion sensors. Everything was upgraded within 48 hours. Sarah, though still shaken, began to relax incrementally as we implemented these measures. I noticed her taking cautious steps to reclaim normalcy, preparing meals, tidying the living room, even laughing lightly at one point. Those small moments felt like victories, proof that fear would not dominate our lives. Weeks passed, and Detective Harper continued her investigation. The man had fled the state, but evidence suggested he had been hired, someone with knowledge of our routines and access to information about our home. Every detail felt personal, targeted. I began reflecting on who could have orchestrated this. Former business associates? Someone from a dispute I had forgotten? Each possibility twisted in my mind, the weight of uncertainty pressing hard. Then, finally, clarity arrived. A connection was made. A neighbor, previously overlooked, had a grudge stemming from a minor incident months prior. What started as petty resentment escalated into this terrifying orchestration. Relief washed over me, not because the danger was trivial, but because the chaos now had a face, a rationale. I could respond, I could protect Sarah, and we could reclaim our lives. By the time the investigation concluded, we had regained our home, our sense of security, and a renewed commitment to vigilance. The panic-stricken call that had thrown me into chaos had ultimately reminded us of what truly mattered: our partnership, our trust, and the unyielding need to protect each other. We had faced fear together and emerged stronger. Looking back, the experience changed everything. I realized how fragile life can be and how quickly normalcy can shatter. But it also revealed resilience I hadn't known I possessed, and it deepened the bond between Sarah and me. The police cars, the note, the threat, it was terrifying. But surviving it together gave us something more valuable than safety: perspective, strength, and unbreakable unity.